Hello everyone, Bill Parish here of GTT Audio, and welcome to the channel today. Today I thought we'd bring in a special guest. He appeared here before, back in episode 4, when we talked about integrated amplifiers, and he was here visiting to give a listen to the Audionet Humboldt integrated amp. Well, today we're bringing in, we're going to do a Skype call. We're going to do a Skype call with Greg Weaver, also known as the audio analyst. Greg just recently had published in the Absolute Sound a review on the Audionet Stern and Heisenberg monoblocks. I suggest you read that at theabsolutesound.com. It's not quite there yet. It is in the current issue. If you subscribe and you get the issue, it's there. It's in print. And then usually about a month later, after they've done all the mailings, they post it on the website. And so that would be under theabsolutesound.com. But let's, and then we'll talk about a few other things with Greg. But let's get to it. Let's dial him up. And here he is, everyone, Greg Weaver. Good morning, Greg.
Hi, Bill. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing excellent. You know, I wanted to bring you in, and people know you. You've been on the channel a couple of times. You've started your own YouTube, and I've promoted that in one of my email blasts recently, especially when you did the walkthrough system, which was quite special, actually. Yeah.
Well, from your perspective, it is because it represents a lot of GTT audio products.
Yeah, and not just because we have similar taste. I mean, yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah.
I mean, you're using the Audionet pre G2 and Maxes, along with the Kronos Sparta, Helena, and SSCPS.
Yeah. It's no coincidence that these things have landed here because I fell in love with them. This wasn't a matter of trying to find something unique. This was a matter of these things came in for review, and I'm like, yeah, these aren't going anywhere. And
you've got the Tambaki in there as well, the Mola Mola Tambaki, which I know that review's coming pretty soon.
It's close. I apologize, Bill. There's just so much going on with the day job. We're still working because we have an exception, and I'm still working 10-hour days during the week. Still writing for 3 magazines. It's springtime, so the yard, 2 acres, the house, the dogs. So I'm staying busy, but it is coming, and that will be at Enjoy the Music. So keep an eye out for that.
Right. And I followed your lead recently and taken on von Schweikert speakers. I mean,
I saw that.
You've got such a great synergy going over there, and I just had to try them myself, and I've got the Endeavor special editions in now, and then and actually today I'm receiving the Ultra 55. So that I'm really looking forward to that.
I'm glad to see it, buddy. I think it's a good product, and I'm glad you're giving it some attention. It's they've been on my list since the mid '90s. I've had a pair in house. Maybe not my primary speakers, but I've had a pair in house since about '98. So, and this is my.
Is that right?
Yeah. When the U9s shipped yesterday. My Ultra 9s shipped yesterday, so they'll be here within 5 or 6 days. That will make I believe, my 7th pair of von Schweikert speakers over the last 24 years.
Well, I don't think you know this yet, but I wanted to sort of surprise you. Next week, I'm going to be driving through your neighborhood and stopping in. So hopefully those Ultra 9s will be there, and we'll be able to give them a listen.
Well, keep our fingers crossed. I've already made a plan with work. Whatever day they're due to arrive, I'm taking that day off. They know I won't be in, so that I can. It's going to be a challenge because you've been here.
Oh yeah.
The doorway is 1/2 inch wider than the crate that the U9s come in. So they just come in the door. So,
And to
yeah,
give the viewers an idea, I mean, this staircase is not one of these. It's more like
it's pretty much 45 to, yeah, it's pretty much,
yeah, it's like straight down that
yeah,
staircase.
yeah.
So, oh well. Hopefully, I'm not the
But
one enlisted bringing them down for you.
got a moving company lined up. No, no, no.
Okay, okay,
They're
good,
600
good,
pounds.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's while we're on the subject of von Schweikert, this past week, Albert passed away, and how sad that was.
it was
But
tough.
you wrote just a beautiful tribute to him, and I mean it was so enlightening as well. I had no idea of his accomplishments.
Yeah.
I mean the
Well,
life that this guy did and what he did for audio.
yeah.
I mean, legend doesn't even begin to describe it. I mean, if there was ever a legend in audio, it was Albert von Schweikert.
He was certainly one of them. Yeah. It was pretty shocking. I had a phone call um, early the morning that it happened, and I'm not gonna lie, he was more than just a colleague. He was a friend, and
Mm.
it got to me. And when I reached out to the family and talked to Damon and said, "Would you mind if I wrote something?" He's like, "Would I mind?" He's like, "Oh my God, how cool is it?" I was like, "Well, if you don't mind." So when I wrote it, I sent it to him, and the family approved it. And Damon was kind of shocked that I knew all that stuff about his dad, but I've been, God, and if you knew Albert, um, there was never a 10-minute phone call with Albert. When Albert called, it was an hour and a half or 2 hours on the phone. So we covered a lot of material a lot of times, and it was the least I could do. I wanted to keep it brief, but it still ended up being almost 1,300 words. But I'm probably going to dedicate an issue or an episode of my the Audio Analyst to reminiscing about him here in the near future. So,
Oh, I think that would be great. That would be
yeah,
great. I mean, people should know. I mean,
yeah,
he was a special guy.
he really was, and you've witnessed it now, even with the ESEs. There's a difference with von Schweikert speakers that the way they handle sound staging and imaging and spatial accomplishment, I don't know too many other speakers that even get close to what they can do. So there are a lot of great speakers out there. I'm not knocking anybody. I'm just saying that air and gain network and the way he recreates the microphone in reverse philosophy that he had, it really makes a difference. It's really impressive. It
The
grabbed me
sounds,
back in 70 or in 80, yeah, 97 or 98.
the
Can't talk.
sound stage that the ESEs throw this is a small speaker. I mean,
It really is.
the footprint is like 9 inches by 12 inches,
Yeah.
and it's
It's not even a
tall,
square foot.
and
Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, so I just got the absolute sound this week,
How do you do
and
that? I never get it. And I get it 2 weeks after it publishes. It's ridiculous. That's what I
and
get for living in the Midwest.
lo and behold, I actually cut it out. But lo and behold, we've got the equipment report here
Yeah.
by yours truly,
Yeah, that guy.
and the Stern and the Heisenberg duo. Uh, Greg, thank you. I mean,
Bill, thank you
Greg,
for letting
thank
me
you.
have them.
Thank you for recognizing what these things do. I mean, and every word in there is it's an over the top great review. But so many times people go to the last paragraph, and and I love your last paragraph where it's like if you're in this price range or you're looking at reference gear and you don't hear the audio nets, you may not be buying your last purchase because once you do,
Yeah.
I mean, you've really got to, yeah, don't make a decision until you hear these things because your search isn't over until, these are a destination piece, that's for
Oh,
sure.
dude.
But people shouldn't just read that last paragraph. They should read it all the way through because it's amazing. You've got a very good way of describing this stuff.
Well, thank you, buddy. I gotta tell you, when was it? Well, it must have been May of 2017 that they did the prototype show in Munich with the Heisenberg Sterns, wasn't it? I think
Yes, yeah, I
it
believe
was a
so. Yeah.
prototype. That was the first time I got to hear him. Even that captivated me. Okay,
Oh yeah.
but when you brought me into your sound room 2 years ago to hear the first models that were coming into the United States, and then, dude, we schlepped them down those steps and brought them into this room. You heard them here. You
Yeah.
not like you don't know what they sound like, but you heard them here. And at the time, I had I was reviewing the Gamut Zodiacs. I had their
That's right.
speakers.
Yeah, yeah. Benham speakers. Yeah.
Yeah, and dude, those things were amazing. You know, I don't. I've for years I've said specs are just a jumping off point. Okay, but for God's sake, the Stern passes from DC to 2,200,000 cycles per second. Okay, now maybe that's not DC to light, but it's as close as anybody's ever gotten. Okay, God, it's fabulous. And the Heisenbergs do 0 to 700,000 cycles a second. So, and again, I don't like to focus on specs, but when you look at what they've accomplished in the specification category alone, there's nobody out there that's got those specs. Nobody else is even close right now,
No, I mean it's yeah. Audionet measures the best in the industry.
by far. But even without those numbers, once you get them into a system and live with them for a while, dude, they're magical devices. Their transparency is, I've heard nothing that has that kind of transparency. And what's fascinating about the level of transparency they offer is that they do it when so many devices whose names I will not mention, but some from the same part of the world perhaps, they have transparency, but there's a dryness and a sterility to timbre and tonality and things. This stuff, I'm not going to say it sounds like tubes because that's an insult to both tubes and solid state, but it has that bloom and that body and that kind of invasive sound that makes you feel like you're in the presence of live music with the right other gear. Obviously, you're not going to use a $600 turntable with these guys, but my God, Bill, you know, the time that I had them here, it was fabulous. It was fabulous. Now, I'm not going to say that the Max and Pre-G2 aren't great, because they are.
No,
And
we
after,
know they are. Sure.
well,
And
they
they
weren't.
and they were the building blocks on the the Heisenbergs and the
Yeah,
Stern.
yeah, that was the Audionet flagship products until these guys came along. But what Thomas and Company did, besides hitting a grand slam home run with these things, was set a new level for me. You know, I've been doing this for a few years, and I got to tell you, there are some great names out there, and many of them are from Switzerland or Germany, or some from the United States. In my personal experience, these are the pinnacle right now. I've heard other things that are very good. And I hate to sound like, you know, one of these guys that says these are the best out there, but right now, I've heard nothing that can approximate, let alone equal, the performance, the power, the capability, especially the musicality that these things reveal. They're just
Well, yeah, they have that three-dimensionality and what they do, especially in the mid band. I think, I mean, like you said, you don't want to call them tubes, but
no,
there's no solid state that does
there isn't.
what that magic and that band and that three-dimensionality and the layering and the proper space of how it's placed throughout the sound field, like Audionet.
Well, they've done their homework, obviously. The result is spectacular. Granted, they're not cheap, but then again, they're not the most expensive products out there either.
Actually, I feel
I
for
think they're a value. I really do
yeah,
think
I
they're
think they're a value at their price point
absolutely.
at at the world's reference gear levels of
Yeah.
where it is today. I mean, there's companies for what the combo costs. There's companies charging that just for the amplifier.
For a pair of amplifiers, more
Yeah,
than that for a pair of amplifiers. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's where I was going with this. I cannot get over um, what they bring to the table. When I was there for the Humboldt does a lion's share of that in a box that's a third the size, less than a third the size, and a third the price. So, I guess the point I want to make here is that Audionet. This isn't a lucky roll of the dice. This isn't something they just hit on by accident. In my opinion, they've been doing this for quite some time, and I can't imagine how they're going to do better than this. But I'm dying for the next step from Audionet because I'm sure it's going to be nuts. I don't know if it'll be 2 years or 20 years, but man, this is a company that really deserves your attention at any price point. You blew me away with the Plonk CD player. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not a Red Book guy, okay?
right,
But
right.
good God, man, that thing sounds so analog, especially with the external power supplies. But I guess I don't want to sound like a fanboy for Audionet because that's just not how it is.
No,
What
I understand that.
well, no, I just I
But
recognize what they do.
if it's your reference, it's your reference.
Well, I just recognize what they do. There are so
Yeah,
many companies that strive to do the best they can. I think everybody probably does try to do everything as well as they can.
you would hope
But
so.
what these guys have achieved over and over, their track record makes them something special and something to keep an eye on. So, I don't know.
Cool.
You don't
Well,
have a pick laying around you don't need, do you? You don't have a set laying there you can just drop off here next time you're coming. You said you're coming by in a couple weeks. Yeah. Yeah.
well, I'm not flying because of the COVID. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm passing you one way. I'm stopping on the way back, and on the way west, I'll have a full vehicle, so I won't have room for them.
I'm joking. I will
I
tell
know
you
you are.
this. I just committed to a rather costly pair of loudspeakers, and I'm a working stiff, so I've got to figure out a way to get that paid off. But if and when that works out, I'm not going to lie. I would like to try and find a way to afford. I mean, these would be if it weren't a matter of not having the check to write right now, that's what I'd have in my system as my reference right now. They're fabulous, dude. You know that.
Awesome. Thank
They're
you.
fabulous.
Well, one thing I want to touch on real quick in closing, because I mean, you reviewed them with Benno's speakers, the Gamut speakers,
Well, and
and yeah,
I had von Schweikerts here too at the time.
right, and you had von Schweikerts there, and I'm the importer, and I've been the YG dealer for 10 years,
Yeah.
and so a lot of people think, oh, Audionet works well with YG, but what's really Audionet works well with everything. I mean, you've tried it on two different
Yeah.
speakers. We have a dealer that uses them on Rido. We have a dealer that uses them on Vivid. We have a dealer that uses them on the big rock ports. I
Yeah.
mean, Audionet, if you have a neutral or somewhat neutral speaker and you've got these electronics, it's going to make that speaker sound best.
Yeah, they're not at all interested in a particular speaker.
No,
I've heard
they're
them.
not pushing things one way
No,
or another.
I've heard them. I heard them in
And
Germany.
we heard them, in Germany on the Cascades.
Yeah, and I
And
saw.
what was that other company? A German company, ceramic drivers.
Gouter.
Gouter
Yeah,
Acoustics. Yeah.
I've heard them with probably 5 or 6 different pair of speakers now. So, and I as long as the gear is up to it, yeah, you're gonna like it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Greg, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you next week.
Looking forward to it, buddy. That'll be great.
You got it. Thanks for joining in.
Thanks
Take
for
care.
having me, buddy. See you soon.
Goodbye.
Well, I thought that was just a great call. Thank you, Greg, for being on the channel again. And my deepest condolences to the von Schweikert family. It's a very sad thing, and what Albert contributed and accomplished in this industry is truly remarkable. I would have to say he's a true legend in high-end audio. Well, that's it for today. I'd like you to like, subscribe, share, comment below, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.